This is a 1926 350 AJS Big Port, owned by Ed Hewitt, who come from Surrey. He used to be the secretary of the magazine, I believe, in 1945-46 time. The Vintage Club was started in 46, so he must have taken on the secretary's job when it started. He done the Banbury Run in either 46, 47 or 48. There's a picture in some of the booklets I've got about of this particular bike in the Banbury Run. Been raced ever since, and then was used for grass tracking and hill climbs. I acquired the bike 6 years ago now. Ed Hewitt died 2 years ago now, unfortunately. With it was 40 awards, but unfortunately they didn't come to me as earlier suggested. If we look at the exhaust pipe, it's 1 7/8". Very quick. AJS won the TT in 1921, 1922, and I think they come second and third in 1924. This is a model that followed it. They never ever used the term Big Port AJS, not to 1931, but it was known by all people who rode AJSs as the AJS Big Port overhead valve motorcycle. Only weighs 200 pounds, goes very quickly, brakes very good on this particular model. On other models you want to put your foot down to slow up. On this particular bike, in fact on all AJSs to 1930, was only 3-speed gearboxes. It's up for 1, you can see low, medium and high. Up for 1, neutral gear is where it's at the moment, second gear is where my finger is, and high is at the bottom. And then if we come to the oil pump, this is the oil pump on the tank. There's an automatic oil pump here. This particular bike runs on this model, and you'll see it circulating oil, and then finally it passes it through here and out onto the chain. But having said that, if you're really in a hurry with this bike, press the lever down, that puts in a squirt of oil, which is a canister in the tank about that deep. That gradually works up, puts more oil into the engine, and you'll see it in a big plume of smoke behind you. But that's only if you're really in a hurry. Particular interest should be shown in this carburetor, because on this model, which is overhead valve, you have a far bigger carburetor as against on the 350 side valve. You have to remember the 350 side valve is a bike that will only do maximum 60 miles an hour, which is quite quick for 25. But this bike will move along to 80 miles an hour, and it needs a far bigger carburetor for the fuel. Certainly non-changeable, in so much as overhead models want the bigger carburetor, side valve models want the smaller carburetor. They're both Binks, and in some cases it says on the top, Binks carb made for AJSs. That was the early pattern. And on this on here, which is the steering damper, on one bike that's in the loft it says Andrew steering damper made for AJSs. I don't think this one's got it on. I'll have a look to be sure.
And what was the steering damper used for?
Well, some of these bikes, when they were going quickly, would get a bit of a wheel wobble, you know, handlebar slap from one to the other. Screwed it down, that tended to stop it. There's only asbestos or leather plates in between there and there, and it stops this flapping.
Oh, so it just stops the front end getting loose?
Yeah, getting light, certainly does, but if you get into a real big one, you don't often get out of it. Tyres are beaded edge, should keep the pressure at 50 pounds if you're going to ride the bike, because on beaded edge tyres, tint like wheelbase fitting tyres, beaded edge just fits in a small groove around the rim, and if on low pressure, the tyres have been known to pull off. So you keep about 40 to 50 pounds pressure to make sure that don't happen if you're going to ride it seriously.
you were talking about the wheel bearings
Well,
there,
they're
so
cup and cone wheel bearings, which is unusual, but this was standard pattern in 1925, cup and cones. Consequently, on a push bike, you have a cone that you tighten up to make sure that you haven't got a slack wheel bearing. Same as on this motorbike, you have a cone that you have to tighten up, and you catch hold the top of the wheel, generally put something under here to raise the front up, and then you can check if the wheel bearings are loose, and you just tighten up the cup and cone. You'll see it in the book that I'm going to give you how to do it, okay?
okay,
So that is very important, and you test it by catching out the top, catching out the bottom, and seeing if there's any play. See that you can just, there's just a perceptible feel there, which is right. And on here as well, he's got bolts that push in to push the wheel back. Well, that's okay. The proper pattern didn't have that head on, but don't want to take any notice of that. And this wheel is what we call quick release. You can undo these 3 bolts here. You'll see in the book what else you've got to do. The wheel will come away and it'll leave the chain guard, the chain and the brake drum in position. Because it was raced in hill climbs, it's got a twist grip. This is for the advanced and retired. And having said that, it used to have ball-ended levers on here. The actual levers should have been in the end of the handlebars. As this is on this side, I put this one on this side. The levers should have been in the end of the handlebars, but being as it was raced in hill climb, it was used with modern levers, but they should have had balls on, so as your hand didn't slide off. There should be a clip that holds this back stand.
Merry Christmas.
Good morning, same to you. There should be a clip that holds the back stand to the mud guard, but having said that, the mud guard is far too high. I'll come in back in reverse. Then it'll go in the garage. Oh no, it won't. It'll go in the garage this way. Okay. That's what all this chipping stuff is on the road.